Thanks for staying with us here on Live Now from Fox. We do want to continue on with some of our top stories. And as we teased before the break, we're heading to the Big Apple. Do want to show you another time a live shot that we have there in New York City. As you can see, the Empire State Building lit up in pink in honor of Valentine's Day. I'm sure Mayor Eric Adams is also happy on this Valentine's Day as the Justice Department this evening officially moved to drop the bribery and fraud charges. This matters because at least 7 prosecutors have resigned this week rather than obey a DOJ order to withdraw the indictment, with some criticizing the department leadership for making the decision, saying that it was for political reasons rather than legal reasons. So very interesting case that we want to follow here on Live Now for Fox. And here to help us break it all down is attorney Neama Rahmani. Neama, thanks so much for being with us here on Live Now. Again, this case has captured the attention of so many people across the country. First, though, break down what these initial charges were against Mayor Eric Adams. Again, they involve bribery and fraud.
Christina, really sad day for the Department of Justice, which is, I'd say, nothing less than a dumpster fire right now. This case started last year during the Biden administration, and it was your run-of-the-mill corruption case. And Mayor Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, was alleged to have received benefits in exchange for personal favors, particularly upgraded plane tickets, hotel rooms, and in return, he was expediting certain permits for Turkish officials and a consulate in New York City. So not a particularly outlandish case. Obviously, it was surprising that a sitting mayor in New York was under indictment. That had never happened before, but he was a Democrat. He is a Democrat, and he was being prosecuted by a Democratic attorney general. Now, things started to go sideways when Mayor Adams was really resistant to President Joe Biden when it came to the issue of immigration. And it was clear that he wasn't going to be one of those sanctuary city mayors, and that he was going to help President-elect Donald Trump with respect to immigration enforcement. And then, of course, this week, the bombshell dropped that the Justice Department would be dismissing the charges against Eric Adams, not because of any evidentiary issue or because they wanted to direct Department of Justice resources elsewhere, but the stated reason was that he was helping the administration with policy, with immigration enforcement, and that is something we had never seen before. And of course, that is what led to the resignation of now 7 high-ranking officials in the Department of Justice.
And it is interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because so many people are wondering why these charges were officially dropped. We've even heard from the mayor himself. I do want to put up this comment that he has as well in response to folks calling this quid pro quo. He says, "I want to be clear with New Yorkers. I never offered, nor did anyone offer on my behalf, any trade of my authority as your mayor for an end to my case. Never." You see his comments there. What are your thoughts, Neama?
Well, I would direct folks to Danielle Sassoon, who was the acting U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, and the scathing letter that she wrote the Department of Justice, saying that she was present at a meeting with Adams's lawyer and Emil Bove, who is the Deputy Attorney General, essentially the number 2 person in the Department of Justice. And Bove talked about a prisoner swap and talked about the mayor cooperating and helping the administration when it came to immigration enforcement. And on top of that, the Deputy Attorney General said no one should take notes and collected those notes. Obviously, I wasn't there, Christina, you weren't there, but this isn't some liberal, right? If you look up Sassoon's qualifications, she is a conservative member of the Federalist Society. She clerked for Justice Scalia, maybe one of the most conservative Supreme Court justices of all time. So when she is saying that this offer was made during the meeting and this was discussed, I'm inclined to believe her, because what skin does she have in the game?
And we also know that in the wake of all this, Mayor Eric Adams has been very close to the Trump administration, of course, even doing interviews with current border czar Tom Homan as well. So do you think that there's any way, again, she said this offer was made, is there any way for Mayor Eric Adams to cleanly say that he didn't do this at this point? What evidence could he put forward at this point to say that this didn't happen?
It'll be very difficult unless, again, we have the minutes or the notes from that meeting. without it is challenging. But like you said, the optics look bad, right? The mayor is in Mar-a-Lago with President Trump. He's at a UFC fight with the president. He's going on Fox News uh, this morning talking with the border czar about immigration enforcement. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but when you have the prosecutor saying that this horse trading took place, that is not how charging decisions should be made. And today, another very conservative, decorated prosecutor said that he is going to resign. We're talking about Hagen Scotton, the lead prosecutor on the case. This is someone with two Bronze Stars, a military hero. He clerked for two Supreme Court justices, Kavanaugh when he was a circuit judge, and Chief Justice John Roberts. He resigned when the Deputy Attorney General said, "You're going to dismiss this case." And Scotton said, "I'm not a coward, nor am I a fool." Very powerful letter he sent today. So, again, there's a lot of folks who are saying one thing. There is a politician who's under indictment who's saying another. Again, maybe it's the former federal prosecutor in me. I'm inclined to believe the career prosecutors at the Department of Justice.
I'm glad you brought that up because we do have that statement. I want to pull it up so folks at home who didn't see this leaked online as well, so that way they're able to understand what happened. This is a portion of that letter there from Hagen Scott's resignation letter. He says, in short, the first justification for the motion that Damian Williams' role in the case somehow tainted a valid indictment supported by ample evidence and pursued under 4 different U.S. attorneys is so weak as to be transparently pretextual. The second justification is worse. No system of ordered liberty can allow the government to use the carrot of dismissing charges or the stick of threatening to bring them again to induce an elected official to support its policy objectives. There is a tradition in public service of resigning in last-ditch effort to head off a serious mistake. Some will view the mistake that you're committing here in the light of their general negative views of the new administration. And there's a bit more. He said, I do not share those views. I can even understand how a chief executive whose background is in business and politics might see the contemplated dismissal with leverage as a good, if distasteful, deal. But any assistant U.S. attorney would know that our laws and traditions do not allow using the pre-prosecutorial power to influence other citizens, much less elected officials. If no lawyer within earshot of the president is willing to give him that advice, then I expect you will eventually find someone who is enough of a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion. But it was never going to be me. Please consider this my resignation. Very powerful statement. You talked about it. It's been making headlines as well. Why do you think, again, he had to be so strong when he came out with a statement in his resignation, joining 6 others in the Department of Justice there in New York who decided to resign?
Very powerful. Christina, these are men and women who stood on their principles, and they told their boss that charging decisions are not to be made for political decisions. These are issues that conservatives have raised for years now. And now they're bringing politics directly into the Department of Justice. This is not how our nation is supposed to work. This is not how our criminal justice system is supposed to work. It's shameful. It is a sad day for the DOJ. Pam Bondi and Emil both have a hot mess there. And today, reportedly, there was a meeting with the public integrity section where both demanded that someone file this dismissal. And if not, everyone would be fired. And reportedly, he said that if anyone does file this dismissal, they would be promoted. What kind of system do we have? And this is going to undermine the integrity of prosecutions here in the United States, the trust that the public has that people are doing things not because of power or politics, but for the law and facts. So I tip my hat to Danielle Sassoon. I tip my hat to Hagen Scotton and everyone that put their own career on the line to do the right thing.
And it is interesting, Nima, before I let you go, again, so many of for those in that office, on the federal level have decided to resign. Where does the Department of Justice there in New York go from here? How are they going to be able to handle the caseload that's going to be there in New York with so many people resigning?
Well, it's the most prestigious prosecutor's office in the country, so I'm sure they have plenty of applicants. Even when I applied, I remember they had about 1,000 applicants. They made one offer when I became a federal prosecutor. I was here in California, but that's how many people want this job. It is a very prestigious job. That being said, we're talking about some of the best prosecutors in this country with many years of experience that are walking away. And let's be real, these aren't people that are doing it for the money. They're doing it because they love their country and they believe in justice and the rule of law. And they're walking away from that. And I'm sure they're going to go into the private sector and make exponentially more money. But it's really a shame when we've lost some of our best public servants for really no good reason at all.
And the Big Apple is the biggest city in our country. So much happens there that our country relies on. Also want to bring up some of the comments that we've also heard from local lawmakers as well. Of course, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, also known as AOC, the Democrat from New York, did say on X that Adams must be removed if he won't resign. This was before the DOJ ultimately dismissed his case. But we also know, Nima, that the New York Governor Kathy Hochul has the power to remove the mayor from his role. She said Friday that she needed time to review the situation. What are your thoughts on this? What are the odds that you think that she may even move in this capacity? I don't think this is a very common thing for a governor to step in to do for a mayor.
No, it's not common. And there are laws in New York that allow an elected official, including a mayor, to be removed for incapacitation. I know the governor wanted to wait for this criminal process to play out. Obviously, everyone is presumed innocent, but obviously that is not going to happen. And nor do I think it will happen after next or this year's now mayoral election, because although the case is dismissed without prejudice, there's always a theoretical possibility that it gets refiled. We know that that's not going to happen. If it was going to happen, then all of these prosecutors wouldn't resign en masse. So, is it possible the governor does something? Yes. Is it likely? I don't think so. I think Eric Adams will escape prosecution and he will continue to be mayor. And I think that even though the story is far from over, I do believe this case is dead in the water.
And I'm glad you said it's far from over. Of course, it's something that we're going to continue to follow right here on Live Now from Fox. Again, attorney Neama Rahmani here to help us break down the very latest as it pertains to this case out of New York that's officially been dropped. Well, the DOJ has moved to drop those charges of felony fraud and bribery. We appreciate you for joining us here on Live Now.
Thank you, Christina. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.